a sacrifice seduced for the altar of your vanity. A jealous, hungry God, craving praises of profanity. With bedroom dark and dine, and a deep mouth stained with wine, it drinks its fill. It was your mothers, not your brothers, that agreed to feed you poison. This egregious lack of choice indeed seemed fit to join your voice in, with lies disguised as prizes of reason and wisdom, with briberies of finery to weaken any criticism. Can the fly invade the blossom that devours it? A mouth that lies in wait for a gift of life to shower it.
Alright, so welcome back, and we're going to go ahead and get started. It's been a few nights since the disastrous attempt to kill a few mortals who had been attacking your herd and your cult. So last session, in prep for the party, you had hired the most acclaimed musician in Rome for a frankly obscene amount of money. And a savage yet entertaining and older female gladiator. Promises have been made, payments have been made, and there are a few gaps in your preparations yet. Flavia has written a pretty good play. It remains to be seen if it's going to hang with the masters that are sure to be presented. You have yet to arrange for performers, although you did arrange for the music and the backing musicians, and you're confident they can handle anything that comes their way. You have to arrange for appropriate clothing, and you have no artists. All of you wake tonight thinking of the last encounter, whether you were personally involved or you only heard about it. You've had time to talk, to plan, to dream. The physical wounds have healed, but the damage to the trust and hope may last for a considerably longer amount of time. Those of you who haven in the group cult, when you awake, there is a letter in a canister waiting for you. So you may open that right away, or you can wait and do it after you talk.
Open that bad boy up.
Right. It's in a canister, a wooden canister. These things are carried usually by high-end paid couriers, and it's sealed with wax. You break it, you open it, and the document inside is nothing less than a work of art in and of itself. It is written on a substance that is a cross between linen and parchment. It has gold thread embroidered around the edge. It itself has been sealed with wax that glitters with gold dust, and the stamp impression on it is in the shape of a bull. The letter greets you most courteously. It gives details on how to approach and prepare for the party. It has directions for where to send your servants and your hirelings. The Grand Hostess will be providing shelter as her right, and she shall provide you with one single full course meal over the course of the multi-night party. If you have special dietary requirements or extra meals that you may need, you have to bring them with you. It goes on to state that she's looking forward to meeting with all of her guests, viewing their art, listening to their music, and spending time in their glorious company. And the letter is signed with Mycenaean symbols. If any of you have Mycenaean as a written language, you can read it.
I probably should pick that up at some point. But, once I've gone through it all, I'll, try to get word to the others, Just make sure they're aware of the requirements, etc., etc.
It seems like Helena does not waste her does not hold back even the most mundane of letters. This could be the paper on this could be worth a small fortune. We double should double our efforts to match her dedication to impress.
Indeed. Now let's see. We need artists and performers. Is the big thing we need? Yes.
The big ones, yes. Would also be good to arrange some suitable sets of clothing, better than what we currently have, and perhaps some exotic animals and tamers would be appreciated by her.
Some exotic what? Sorry, I didn't hear that last bit.
Exotic animals.
Ah.
All right. Hatshepsut and Albina are discussing logistics, talking about their resources that they may have yet to tap. Perhaps their friends and allies who they might call on to provide them with additional funds. Labiena, do you stay with Fawzia tonight, or are you staying in the Cult Haven?
I just think I'll probably be back at the Cult Haven.
All right, so yeah, you come to tonight, snapping out of those not quite nightmares, but definitely not restful periods where you are in your death sleep. And you awaken to complete darkness, back in familiar surroundings. Scrolls and results of your research packed securely away, ready to be referenced at a moment's notice. Some of your ritual implements set up for ease of use. And you hear a few voices drifting down the steps. You make out the murmuring tones of Hatshepsut and Albina. Everything seems to be calm and quiet. So what would you like to do?
Well, I guess the first thing she'd probably do is just walk up to Albina and Hatshepsut. Good evening, Albina. Hatshepsut? How does the night find you?
Well enough. I have recently received the official invitations from instruction from Helena. I imagine that her other guests are likewise receiving them at this moment.
Excellent. And We still have a lot to arrange, don't we?
We do, yes. We should see about bringing this to attention to others, see if they have also received it. Shestartus and Flavia have likewise gotten their hands on such messages.
Sounds like a good plan.
I can look upon Laetia and Decius to see if they might be willing to assist us in further preparing this our presentation to Helena. For I fear that what we have already invested will not be enough to cover much greater expenses.
Yes, that probably would be a good idea. If I recall, we almost expended everything we had on securing our fighter, didn't we?
And the magician, yes.
Yeah.
Here's a thought. Though I spent a fair bit of time around action crowds a few decades ago, didn't I? Would I remember any particular companies that could be useful to try and look into to hire out?
You're still getting back your feet back under you after being awakened a few years ago. Flavia, however, is much more tuned into that community.
Oh, yeah, she would have like current experience. I was just thinking if I would have any memories from when I was trying to
Oh, yes, you certainly
worm.
do. Yes.
But yeah, if we could, so that's something we can look into to try and find a group that we can both afford and that would be to a suitable standard. And here's a different thought. Chris, how possible would you say it's at all possible to modify the taste of Typhon's Brew beyond the original?
Um, in the same way that you might modify the taste of any beer, I suppose.
I'm just wondering it because if we could make it might not be a big thing, but if we could get some that's made with particularly good taste and so forth, I might win, a couple points as as just this unusual thing for vampires.
I think it
Helena,
might be worth a shot.
safety and sensation are the two things that drive Helena. If she has no little experience with Typhon's Brew, if we could provide her with a new sensation by providing her with it, I'm sure that's going to earn us a lot of favor.
Um, 1 second, let me get
Right.
my...
So they are discussing that, looking for angles at which to draw appropriate positive attention to themselves.
I will note that I actually have a specialty for this, so that's 3 successes.
Okay. You think you can tweak the process? It won't be, in terms of beer, it won't be good beer. But beer's not a common beverage, so you don't think anybody's going to notice that too much. So I would like you to go ahead and make an intelligence plus crafts roll, a second one, to actually change up the recipe and brew a slightly different, and then I believe it's a ritual to make it Typhon's Brew, correct?
Yeah.
And then do the ritual roll.
That is 5 successes.
That's an amazing. It actually goes significantly quicker and better than you thought it would because you were able to rescue some of your last batch that had not fully been done yet. What kind of changes do you want to make to the flavor? Just for, pardon the pun, just for the flavor of role playing.
Nailing down all the specifics I'm not sure on because IRL not much of a drinker myself, but I suppose I'd probably try and mix in to see if I can get a hand on slight amounts of perhaps spices that give a unusual but not necessarily unpleasant flavor to it.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
not much of an IRL beer guy myself, to be honest with you. So if we did honey, that would be more mead. Yeah, that's not really a usual flavor for the southern wine drinkers. So yeah, that would probably work pretty well. It's a cross between beer and mead that you've produced.
all right, and then for the actual ritual roll. That one, I don't think the specialty would apply, but still.
Yeah, still that's an amazing roll. Yeah, you have created a batch, and I'm not sure what the roll is on number of successes for that, but however big the batch is that 5 successes lets you get, then you have created that batch.
Excellent. Now to store that away carefully, make sure no one sneaks a sip of it
And
before.
you have done that over the last week. So that's the majority of your free time. So that being done, that's what your Hatchet's doing when she's not out shopping to do something else. Right.
Okay.
Flavia and Lucius. The two of you are kind of hanging out in the Haven, which is a converted apartment building where he's made the basement into a theater. You're hanging out in the Haven of Alexander. And one of his servants comes up to you and basically says, I advise you not to make yourself very scarce tonight. You're welcome to stay, but try not to be seen by him. He's not in a good mood. The rest of you guys, Astartes included, receive a presence summons. Normally, there's no emotion to this. It's just a pull to go to a direction. But tonight there is a incredibly strong feeling of emotion. It feels of rage and disgust, and it's pulling you in the direction of the Quirinal Hill.
Sounds like the kind of thing that isn't healthy to ignore.
No, not in the slightest.
Let's go.
Indeed.
I'm also leaving.
Yeah, you guys all depart forthwith, making great haste as you approach the Quirinal Hill. The feeling zooms in on the haven of Alexander, and as you get closer and closer, you realize it's probably your patron who has done this. This is unusual. He's not in the habit of using presence to summon you guys.
And I do not believe we ever saw him with anger. Certainly not enough anger to be felt through the presence summoning.
You enter, make your way through these layers of security, downstairs, and in the open theater area, it's pretty empty. Out, you see Alexander. He is stalking from area to area across the open space. One look at him is enough to tell you his beast is very close to the surface. This is not a surface anger; it's a deep, deep rage. He's a very handsome Greek man with his curly blonde hair, but his features are contorted. His eyes shine, and his vampiric teeth are extended. He moves and he stalks. It looks like he's a restless tiger as he stalks through the space. And as you guys come up, you meet him one by one, looking him in the eyes, and he just snarls out at you, "What have you fools done? Why were you so careless?"
Alvina takes a moment to compose herself, completely taken aback by the way how Alexander speaks, causing her to look around at the others, her eyes stopping at Astartes and Labiana, as she wonders if he caught to note if he became aware of the incident that they had and the debt that they now owe to Valeronius.
Astar starts looking at the floor. He avoids your eyes in shame.
He basically passes over Hatshepsut since Hatshepsut wasn't immediately at fault, but she was definitely involved in what caused this, and therefore is getting a little bit of the back blast to his anger.
Hat just
And honestly, unjustifiably so, but the world's not fair.
Yeah. Hat just looks around a bit out of the loop.
Yeah, Labiana will just, expressionlessly as always, just kind of glance around to the others.
His hands are just like opening and closing, and you notice his nails are like digging in to his skin, digging through the fortitude of his Ventru hide, and causing little wounds as he's just restlessly, just almost like he's trying not to throttle somebody. And he's still stalking around you. Just. And he goes, "Don't you realize your debts are partially mine? As my client, such things reflect on me. How could you be so careless as to be lured in such an obvious trap?" And then stomp, stalk, pace. Ugh. And of course, Lucius and Flavia, you can hear this. Like, this isn't quiet. After a few moments, if nobody responds, he stops in front of you and he says, "You all have one chance to make this right. Valerianus has been severely damaged by the reforms of Sulla, and his reputation with the Princeps has suffered greatly. As a result, he has tried to put plans in motion to supplant my preeminence in the domain of theater and art with his own. And to do so, he must impress all the Toreador of Pompeii to do it. My own spies have reported he is heavily working through some of the preeminent artists of Rome, sending gladiators, artists, and his own troupe of storytellers and performers to Pompeii. You must find a way to make him call in his boons on you or forgive them so as to stop this plan. If you leave Pompeii, still under the aegis of his boons, then all of you will be finding yourself a new patron, one who undoubtedly will be making much more stringent demands of your time than I."
Perhaps he'll be acceptable to the offer to have taken some offer to have us sponsor his cause as a way to repay the boon.
His hand, like, twitches towards you, and he consciously has to stop from lashing out. He holds he holds your lives, two of you, in his hands. Your literal unlives. Go. Get out of my face.
Hatch will give a slight bow and tug on other people's I'm not sure if the clothes that we'd have would have sleeves, but the equivalent of tugging on sleeves. Come on, let's just cut our losses, say our polite goodbyes, and go.
Astartes bows and immediately leaves. He will not stick around.
Yeah, without a word, Labiana would just give a very slight head nod, turn around,
Yeah.
walk out.
Flavia and Lucius, you probably believe you're going to be caught in the backlash too, so it would be best to leave with the rest of your coterie. And maybe introduce your friend as well, Flavia.
Well, Flavia was a little bit busy trying to rewrite a certain play, but with all the stomping and the messenger coming by, she just couldn't concentrate. And so I believe that she might have been hiding under the bed, if there was one, because she's a little bit skittish and she understands that Alexander can be given into fits of rage and you want to be across the Mediterranean when that happens. So she was pretty freaked out. But as far as Lucius goes, I have really no idea how he found his way into Alexander's property, because I didn't realize that it was something that I had to come up with.
Well, he's your friend, and he's probably there at your invitation, keeping you company tonight.
Okay. We can play it that way. I think in the beginning when we were discussing it, it was going to be more of a haphazard running into one another.
Okay, well,
But
then in that case...
we can do it that way too.
That's all right. I've got the solution to this. Lucius.
Yes, sir.
Your sire is politically pretty weak. And he is attempting to get you fostered by someone much more powerful. And he has brought you here thinking that Alexander, being a relatively undemanding patron, he does enough politics to not be used as a doormat, but he's not really interested in power for power's sake here in Rome. Brought you here to see if he could bring you onto being fostered by Alexander, brought under his wing and taught, so to speak. And you have heard this outburst, your sire's heard this outburst. And as people are leaving, you see Flavia kind of trailing along with the rest of her coterie. You recognize her right away. And your sire basically looks at you and he's like, this is your chance to show what you can do. See what help you can be to them.
Very well. He would bow to his sire and take off after the coterie and try to catch up with Flavia.
So what does everybody see as Lucius comes kind of trotting up behind them? Now keep in mind, officially, weapons other than a knife and armor are banned in Rome. That being said, if you have money, you can get away with a lot of stuff. So what does everybody see as you come up?
Oh, my description.
Yes, please.
Basically, regular civilian attire. Well, obviously, someone who's well off. I mean, he's not rich, but he ain't some poor schmuck either. And his knife may be a little bit bigger than a regular knife. It's damn near a short sword. But other than that, it's just an obvious someone of money, but not ostentatious. The render I have in my picture is a pretty good description.
Okay, so yeah, he's got an average-looking guy, neither handsome nor ugly, kind of a youthful face. He's still got the pock marks of acne on his cheeks, somewhat thin lips, clean-shaven, of course, as is the fashion of Rome. However, he carries himself with poise and confidence. You can see the training of military in his gait, the set of his shoulders, the wariness in his eyes. He's obviously had some experience with street life, making sure that he's not ambushed in the dark corners of society. He comes running up and catches up to you guys, and Flavia, you turn and see your friend Lucius, a man who you knew very vaguely over society, but also you knew as friends many years ago.
Yes, that would definitely be a huge surprise to her, because at first she would not make the connection, since they had been childhood friends and basically would climb trees together as soon as they figured out how. But then as he got older and she did, their paths drifted apart. She was a merchant's daughter, and he was nobility. So their paths diverged, and she hadn't seen him for a handful of years. It's basically his eyes and the fact that his skin remained the same with the slight blemish here or there. Maybe he had some scars that he retained from the time of childhood that finally starts to dawn on her that this is somebody she knows, and her eyes widen because she has no idea that he's a vampire. She thought he was just going to grow up being a patrician of some sort, or maybe become a senator or a soldier, whatever it is that his parents wanted of him. And here he is believing Alexander's premises. That definitely produces a shock on her face, and she just kind of stands there, not saying anything. And whatever she was holding in her hands, I imagine papers on which she had written parts of her play, basically just tumble down, and she just stands there staring at him, not saying a word.
How do the rest of you guys act to this strange, young vampire come running up to you?
Albina looks at the new face, raising an eyebrow, and not recognizing him, not too surprised not recognizing him, but curious about what business would bring him to see the patron. And her curiosity turns to grows as she notices the reaction from Flavia. Wondering perhaps he has a connection to her old sire. Is there some history here?
I'm thinking that Flavia's finally found her tongue at this point and takes a small step back to stand next to Albina, because they've kind of become, or she considers them, closer cohorts within the coterie, and she trusts her with her life. Not that she doesn't trust this guy that resembles her childhood friend, but she's still trying to piece things together as to how on earth did you become like me and now you are here. There's a lot of gaps that her brain just isn't able to fill in. They hadn't been in contact since she last broke her arm falling off some tree bough. So she turns to Albina and says, he looks like someone I knew when I was a child, but I'm not certain if this man is the same person. And then she turns to Lucius and says, "What is your name?" And then she says, "What is my name?" And she waits for him to answer.
Well, Lucius would, when he saw her drop all her paperwork and have her little moment, he would chuckle, he would smirk, and he would crouch down and pick up the paperwork. And as he handed it to her, he would give her his full name, and then he would say, "Your name is Flavia," and I can't remember the last name at the moment. "And we used to climb trees as children. How have you been?"
He just kind of sighs and says, "Perhaps we should leave the premises before we are ushered out in a not so gentle manner, and we can talk about things once we are outside. If that's okay with everyone. And she looks to the group to see what they would say.
I think for one, Labiena would usher to the exit and say, please.
Let's go far away from here as possible. Now.
Perhaps maybe.
Well, nobody and nothing stops you. So you, as a group, exit the facility with Flavia kind of juggling her papers. You get out on the streets, which are, of course, for Rome at night is crowded. The sounds and smells of the ancient city, familiar to you all, comforting even. The smell of food, the sounds of the gutters being flushed with water from the Tiber, the bathhouses that you pass, the food vendors, the sound of people eating and drinking, people still working at night, laying brick, clearing wood, the smell of smoke and flame everywhere on the streets. So you wander through the city streets. They are steadily getting more and more crowded, the buildings less and less fancy as you descend into the valley off of the Quirinal Hill. Discussing strategy.
We should see to the ways to get rid of this bomb.
And I believe that conversation is better held at the Cult Haven. Don't you agree?
Shall we head there?
Let's go.
Flavia just has this yes, please look in her eyes, and she doesn't say anything, just nods at everybody and vamoose. Let's go.
Lucius is just along for the ride at the moment. He's calm, wary. He always looks and watches where he goes. And he has the demeanor of a soldier. But he's still smiling and smirking.
Well, you all make it there no problem. As a group, you're much too large for any thugs to want to take on. So you head back to the Haven. You enter the building. It's a brick building with wooden top. So the first floor is made of stone and brick. Lucius, as your first time when you enter it, there's a antechamber that you come in, and then you go through a second door, and it's a vast opening. You see pillars holding up the second floor, but all the internal walls have been removed as much as possible. There's a stage, a series of benches and seats. There's windows on the far end with shutters currently shut, and green plants, flowers, and supplies are stacked in one corner. You do notice that there's a number of, well, I won't say a number, a few men and women about the place. But the rest of you would know that most of them are upstairs in their apartments preparing for bed. So, what do you discuss and what do you do?
I look at Alvina. So, Alvina, what do you have in mind?
Opina is thinking back to the incident and she laughs softly to herself, remembering the when Astartes did the judgment thing to the times they are on the boom from Valeronius back when they returned to the city. I told him that it is not um, that when he complained about his little lucky mortal lucky getting ties with him, that it was not my fault if he could not keep his mortals uh, under control. I wonder if he put those kids that are against us as a way because of this. He wanted to show me what it was like having mortals going out of control. She snaps her head out of she shakes her head, snapping herself out of this reminiscent as she turns to Astartes, confirming his words. I believe I have a few ideas. He is one of the Ventru. I still have some connections with the Ventru, even after the death of Lady Artemis. I could see if I could speak to some of them, see if we can undermine him from within his clan. See if perhaps he'll be willing if they will be willing to intercede in your behalf in negotiating something with him.
Are we talking just by ourselves, right, Chris?
Yes, it's just you guys. You guys and Lucius, who has basically been told to offer his services to you and see where he can help.
In that case, I look at Lucius. I believe we've not been formally introduced. I am Astartes of the Clan of Blood. And I bow a little bit.
Lucius would bow back, smile, say his name is Lucius Caius Scipio of the Venture. How may it be of service?
Then I look at Alvina, speaking Phoenician. He's a Ventru. Can we trust him?
Would I have heard anything about him with my status 1 among the Ventru?
I can roll your intelligence plus politics plus your Ventru status. Lucius, she is actually somewhat famous within the Ventru clan, and she actually has a pretty good amount of respect among your sire and his peers.
Okay.
So,
One success.
one.
Alvina,
He,
your
he,
wound
he's
balance is there.
he's unfortunately one of a number of young neonates, almost fledglings really, who are been embraced in the past 30 or 40 years. It's getting pretty tough to keep track of them. You've heard of his sire, and his sire is at least loyal to Rome. That you know. And you do still have a wound penalty on there.
Want me to roll an extra dice or?
Yeah, well, why don't you go ahead and do that? All right. Yeah, you have definitely heard of his sire. He doesn't have a lot of. His sire earned the right to embrace. And in fact, with that two successes, you have also heard that Lucius himself has earned himself a little bit of status by supporting the princeps and his purges during the social war.
I have heard of him and his sire. They seem to be firmly in the faction of Camillus within Rome, within the Senate.
So he can be trusted then to not be a lackey of Valerius.
No, I do not believe he's a lackey of Valerius.
Okay. But before we can deal with this whole Valerius issue, we still have a couple of things we must take care of for the party. How are we gonna do it without any funds?
Even if we do not have the funds, we can still. If we do not have the funds at hand, we can still procure them. As mentioned, Decius would be perhaps a good opportunity to approach. But if we rely on him too much, we might not. For this, we might not be able to secure his help when it comes to undermining Valerius from within the clan, or securing him as a mediator with Valerius. With that said, Decius had his own share of issues with Valerius, if memory serves. So perhaps he might not even ask as much to in order to assist us against him.
I look at Labiana and Hatshepsut. Do you guys have any ideas what else we can use? Do?
Well,
So, sorry.
I was going to say, well, as you know, this isn't one of my specialties.
Thought occurs. I'm not sure if this got covered earlier while I was out of character. I'm not sure if this got covered earlier while I was out, but I'm given to understand that he's basically trying to throw his chips down into the impressing Helena at her little party thing. Have we brought up the idea of basically putting him through a racket? Sabotaging his performance somehow, and then without his knowledge, and then offering the solution.
Having a little payback. I do appreciate that idea, yes.
But all that is gonna take time. It can only be done while we are in Pompeii.
Not necessarily. He we need to. If he hired his artist, his servants from Rome, we can approach them here. We can take actions against them here.
But there's a possibility that he will find out, and he might call in those wounds. in the Vietnam.
And if he calls them in and has them paid out, then our job is done.
That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario.
Sorry, you cut out there for me.
Yeah, you're
Best case
breaking up
scenario.
there, Astartes.
The best case scenario is he tests the enemy with killing you guys. Remember, he can ask us anything, and we will not be able to refuse.
Hmm.
Then he will not find out that it was us. We are true intermediaries to proxies. In fact,
It would have to be.
we might not do anything at all. We might have our friends do it for us.
I have an idea. Is there any way we can point a certain puppy in a specific direction without getting too close to the puppy? And I look directly at Albina.
I not understood that you said point out what at a
A
specific
duck. A
a
puppy
dog.
duck. A big one. One that we
You
know is protecting a certain area of Rome.
werewolves.
Yes,
Bingo.
Ooh.
possibility. Yes, I believe there might be something that can be done for that.
So maybe we know he's protecting that area and he's fond of his little group of lackeys that he has. He's protective of them. If we can make it appear like Valeronius is attacking them, he might not be too pleased about that. But I might be in over my head here, so
I could arrange to identify some of his lackeys, and then someone could be arranged to bring those lackeys to Valeronius territories, and then we slay them.
okay. How can we do this without getting involved or pointed out?
I can perform a ritual that will call a creature of the abyss to me. Have the creature locate and identify this, the lackeys, and then we just need to use our money to arrange a kidnapping and then a murder. There should be plenty of muscle in the city that will be looking for such contracts.
Okay, that's the first phase of the plan. And how are we gonna get those lackeys who are gonna you just wanna contract some random people from the street, or do you have someone specific in mind?
I do not know of any mercenary companies in specific, no. Although, she looks over at Lucius. Someone here might have a better idea of all the veterans that might be willing to take some work on the side. Although someone here might be willing, might be knowing of some veterans that might be willing to take work on the side.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Lucius could probably find some veterans that could be bought for a certain price and be useful. He would even reach into his belt pouch, pull out a one gold aureus, and say he could even hire them himself.
Both you and Flavia are unknown to Valeronius, as far as I know. Acting through the two of you would ensure the maximum degree of separation.
I look at Amina. Are you sure you want to get Flavia involved in this?
Yes, Flavia is there.
Abner looks over at Flavia, letting her answer it for herself.
I have no problem being involved. I'm just wondering why we are thinking of resorting to this kind of a physical approach. Could we not maybe play on his vices and have Valeronius lured away into some gluttonous feast in a remote villa someplace, and then cut off his head while he's dining on a succulent virgin? Could we not do that?
He's a smart guy. He will not go alone. He will have backup.
And he's a Ventru. Who could know even what is his preference for blood?
Well, that's why we would have one of each of everything he could possibly desire. As for backup, that's where the mercenaries come in. If Lucius claims he is capable of arranging these men, why could they not take care of his escort?
If we were to resort to violence, my guess is that the best time for that would probably be while we were both on the road.
Where it'd be more, presumably, more vulnerable.
And
We
less,
promise. Yeah,
Hmm?
go on. Go on.
less witnesses.
But then there's the issue of tracking him down. We cannot be sure if he's going to take the same route as we would.
Hold on.
Unless we follow him all the way from Rome and ambush him in a location.
I believe if we could get our hands on something of his without him realizing, we might be able to solve that issue. And Hat will motion to. At this point, she probably has like a small pool of water in the cult haven somewhere, just in a corner, that she sometimes uses for scrying purposes.
Yeah, a special like fountain of some kind, one of those
Or
big bowls.
yeah, just like a bowl with like just convenient really. Have it all preset, ready to use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. So long as we can get our hands on an object of some personal significance to him, I would be able to keep an eye on him, and then I should be able to get a rough idea of where to go based on the land.
Something must be wrong with Discord because everybody's cutting out lately.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
In
weird.
in my instance, it probably didn't help that my headphones briefly came unplugged.
Oh, well, that would
Oof.
explain it. Okay, so you were saying to get a personal piece of equipment of something personal from him?
Yeah, and then I can scry him, and we can and then do some. I'll should be able to at least get a broad idea of what direction to look in for him as we go.
The difficulty would be in determining what item to obtain and how to get it.
Alvina, can those servants of you physically interact with something?
I believe they can they?
The minor servants cannot.
No, that is not something they are capable of.
So if we really want something, we have to physically get it ourselves. And I'm not sure about you guys, but I do not want to be anywhere near him.
Well, if it comes down to it, my homunculi are at your disposal.
Can it get can it get in and out without being seen?
Out of character, would a hand, or how easy would
They're
it be
pretty
for a hand
sneaky,
to be
but
seen?
if somebody spots them, they'll immediately realize that this isn't right.
How fast is it? Is it as fast as the hand in the Adams Family?
Thing, yeah. But I suppose it'd be worth, I don't know, sending someone to possibly covertly scout one or all of his premises and try and identify the easiest room to access.
Or we can send an animal. I look at Hatshepsut. How adept are you at commanding animals?
Likely not enough for what you're thinking, I'm afraid. I can summon them and I can give them orders, but I cannot take control.
Are there Chris, are there ravens in Rome?
Yeah,
Ravens and crow.
yes, there are. Definitely ravens and crows.
And they like shiny things. I look at Hatshepsut. Ravens and crows like shiny things.
They also sleep at night.
Yeah, but Hatshepsut can command one to sneak in, get a ring or something from Valeronius.
main issue there is the bird has no way to tell between Valeronius and, say, random guard who happens to be married.
For that matter, a random ring might not be the personal item required to get a connection to him. I imagine that Valeronius enjoys his shiny things and must have quite a large amount of them, much that has little actual attachment to him.
But his greed, his like of them is what actually attaches it to him. That is his attachment.
Would out of character, would that be enough?
Say it again. Is what going to be enough?
That level of attachment of, like, the possession of someone who greatly covets all manners of wealth.
For Scry? You have to have a personal possession for Scry, right?
Hmm.
I mean, if you got something out of his haven, even if it belonged to a close personal servant, it might be enough if the servant's traveling with him.
It could potentially use a combination of. By now, I'm sure the coterie would be well aware of the names that she's given all of her homunculi. Combination of Oculus and Manicus. Oculus could go in and try and pinpoint an object. And then at the best possible opportunity, Manicus could go in and snatch it. Of course, the only difficulty there is our character, what was the maximum distance they could travel from Labiena?
I believe 100 yards, so 100 meters.
So I would need to find a suitably sheltered covert location nearby. That would be the only issue.
You said you were close. Your sire has been getting close to the Nosferatu, yes? The underground havens and passages.
Yes. Perhaps they could be of some help here.
If they have a place close to Valeronius haven, or maybe if they have a secret way into Valeronius haven, even.
Oh, certainly an option.
Actually, here's a simple thought. Lucius, just a wild guess. Not so much guess as wild question. Would you say you're particularly dexterous?
In regards to how so, I can hold my own in a fight, if that's what you're asking.
No, more a criminal form. Light fingers.
I guess
Because
I'm all right.
he doesn't yet. Valerius probably doesn't yet know that you're attached to us. So if you can come up with a reason to have a in-person meeting with him briefly at some point, that could give you a chance to potentially try to pickpocket something off of him.
an idea, but I wouldn't recommend it.
And maybe not even pickpocket. If he's distracted by some entertainment, perhaps she once again looks at Flavia. You'd have the opportunity to take anything that you want from his place.
Flavia just grins, and then she says to everyone, but looking at one person in particular, I can possibly dance for him. I'm very good. You haven't seen me yet, but I promise you it would be a spectacle that you wouldn't easily forget. What do you all think?
I do believe this would be uh, a good opportunity as a good course of action.
She winks at Albin and says, well, if you'd like, we could dance together. It would be twice the pleasure for his eyes.
She she smiles shortly at that and shakes her head. Let us save that for Helena's party.
As you wish.
He does not deserve to have such pleasure.
Well, I would hate to get the young ones involved in this. I see no other way that we can pull this off safely. But I must insist, if at any time it looks like it's gonna go south, I want you guys to get out of there. Do not do it. I may have another way to get information we need, but it's only be able to be used as a last resource. As a last resort, so. And he looks directly at Flavia. I do not want to put you guys in any danger.
Well, danger's kind of the name of the game. Look at who we are. This is it. We live for this kind of stuff. We live
Look at
to evade it. So, I'm done.
Look at it this way. At some point they have to. At some point they have to start exercising their wings if they want to learn to fly.
He just sighs and said, "You're right, Hatshepsut, but I'm still not 100% okay with this one."
They are not some.
And say, I understand your concerns, Astartes. But at the end of the day, it is their choice.
Just because they are just because they might not be just because they might be recently embraced, less than a century old, that does not mean that they are like some mortal newborn, completely and totally defenseless.
You're right, you're right. I might be a little bit overprotective, but. Okay, let's go with this plan. But I feel like we're getting sidetracked here. We're just focusing on one issue, and we still have to gather the other stuff. and we do not have a lot of time before the party.
Perhaps everyone else in the meantime could focus on that to that end.
Yes.
Okay, so who's doing what? Hatshepsut is brewing beer. That's what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
What's Albana doing?
Alpina is going to be approaching Decius and Aletia to try to raise resources and get recommendations for um, entertainment to bring to the party.
Okay. Labiana?
I suppose Labiana feels she's done her contribution towards the party, so she's probably going to help with the Valeronius problem.
Alrighty. Astartes.
One question. What feeling did I get from the new Castellan? Is she somebody tough, but I can respect her, is or should I fear for my life?
You should be very afraid.
Okay. And I'm not so sure about the rules. Can I stay out of the compound when I want?
She hasn't said otherwise.
Then, before everybody splits up, I walk up to Albina, Shepsut, and Labiana. This may sound a little bit forward from me, but if I might need it, can I crash here for a while? Because the new Castellan has arrived, and let's just say I'm not her biggest fan.
You are a part of a coterie status, and you assisted this cult. This should be enough to answer your question.
In
You are
that
welcome to
case,
stay as long as you need.
thank you for your hospitality.
But in regards to the new Castellan, do you think she might be someone that this new Castellan might be someone that can turn against Valeronius?
Going from experience, she's still new. She might be individually powerful, but her political power is still not so strong here in Rome, so I do not believe she will move against Valeronius.
Perhaps. Still, might be good to see what you can arrange. You know the lands of Hakin and the ways of your clans better than any of us. Might be good to see what you can arrange to frame Valeronius as having been breaking some of them.
I personally believe she might get me killed before she does anything. She might kill me herself for failing the clan in such a manner.
Let's not tweak the nose of a crocodile and hope to not get bitten.
Yeah, I do not want to get her involved in any shape or form. I do not want her to even get a whiff of this.
You
Let's
have
just say that our trip in the Alps was a vacation compared to her. What I'm feeling from her.
Do you think that she's aware of the life pool that you all? Do you think
Sh-
that your clan would appreciate knowing that one of its members is at the beck and call of one such as Valeronius?
I believe she is aware, but the life boon is a law set forth by Cain himself, so we are honored bound to heed it. She will respect it.
That's unfortunate.
So it's better if we do not get her involved in this. And besides, I'm still on the shit list of the clan, so I'm on probation, you can say.
All right. So, how are you helping out in this endeavor then?
A- Actually, I cannot go anywhere near Valeronis without getting suspicious of anything. So maybe I can accompany Labiana, provide security for her.
Okay. So you and Labiana are going to be working on the Valoranius problem somehow. We'll get there when we get there. Uh, Flavia.
Yes. Flavia has a little checklist of things she still needs to get done, and she's mostly preoccupied with the whole feast and the entertainment that they'll have to put out there when they get to Pompeii. And on the first item on her list is a fake snake. You might all think this is kind of weird, and it is in a way. It's a prop that she'll need for the play. She has not been able to procure anything that looks like a fake snake, but it is also believable on stage. So she's still kind of looking, and um, she's been trying to venture out in the evenings among the various merchant stalls to artisans and whatnot to see if she could find such a thing. It is
Does
very
it
important. It's central to her play.
does it have to be fake?
Well, if it's not fake, then it cannot be some snake that will bite and hurt someone that they should, die from the bite. Unless it's a vampire that's being bitten, I suppose then it wouldn't matter. But that's the next step I was going to get to. So if you have an idea, please.
Well, Flavia knows, being deeply embedded, there's three possibilities for you. A guy named Procurus Verulus. He is kind of the manager of a troupe of actors and prop makers. They kind of do all their costuming, that kind of stuff, their own makeup. Basically, you hand them a play, you arrange the music, they show up to the theater, and they do all the other stuff. He is the best. He has a reputation of being very garrulous, a very genial man. The second possibility that you know of is a woman named VtDA. Actually, VtDA is how it's pronounced. She's somewhat older. She is basically Procurus's rival. She's got a reputation of being pretty harsh and merciless. Very pinched face, kind of cronish attitude. But her people are pretty good. And you know of a one named Opitor Ambrosius. He's a up and comer. Has a bunch of young actors. We're talking teenagers who haven't really made a name for themselves and are trying to break in. So they're not the best, but they are working hard to make a name for themselves to make a living.
Okay, that's a lot to think about. The one thing that she was hoping to do is to get. I don't know how much of this is a possibility, but she wanted to get some members of the coterie directly involved in the play, and she hadn't really addressed it with anyone in character yet. but I would like to know if that is a possibility and if anybody or Celie would be up for that.
Anybody who's got performance can volunteer for that.
Yeah, that's got performance.
I also got performance, but I'm more of a musician.
Funnily
I
enough,
also got
Flaviana does too.
Well, in that case, I better introduce the subject of the play. She has been rewriting a little bit, not a whole lot. The play based on the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. So, if you guys are familiar with that play or myth, it's basically a story of two lovers that get separated due to, um, basically, I consider it an evil ploy of the gods getting involved because there's always some god messing about with the mortals somewhere in ancient Greece. And she dies as a result of being bitten by a snake, and he then goes into the underworld to try and fetch her. He's willing to do whatever it takes to get his beloved back to the world of the living. And he actually manages to convince both the god of underworld Hades and his wife Persephone to let his beloved go, but there is a catch. As they exit the underworld, Eurydice has to walk behind Orpheus, and he must not turn around to look at her. If he does, he loses her forever. So, in the original story, he is just so overwhelmed with passion and excitement as they're about to reach the exit that he can't control himself and turns around, looks at his beloved, and he vanishes from his eyes forever because he breaks the oath that he took before Hades that he wouldn't look. And so he's once again devastated, goes off alone into Greece. He's playing all these sad songs. And of course, I should have probably mentioned that he's an extremely gifted musician and composer. And I don't know that there's anybody that is more famous than he at the time, except maybe the god Apollo himself. And eventually this guy is basically come upon by a bunch of drunken Menaides, mad women of the god Bacchus, and at the very, very, very end, he's supposed to be torn apart to pieces and dies. It's very sad. But sorry, go ahead.
I call the role of head Maynard.
All right. That's a fantastic story to pick. You think that given the way that Greek and Roman plays are structured, that you could probably pull it off with just the coterie and yourself acting in it. Because the chorus does a lot of the heavy lifting in these kind of things. And you've already hired a chorus.
I was also thinking that because she was rewriting it a little bit, the main structure of the play will remain intact, except for the ending, because she figures we want to appeal to the whole beauty grandeur of the unlife that we're living as vampires. So instead of having the end part where Eurydice is basically taken back by Hades as soon as Orpheus turns around to look at her, Flavia has rewritten it so that as they continue to walk together out of the underworld and Orpheus is playing his lyre to give himself courage as the two of them traverse the darkness of the underworld, Eurydice runs ahead of him because she is the one that is unable to help herself this time, and she tries to enchant him with her dance. At which point he does fall for it, and they both decide to return to the underworld to spend the rest of their lives there, seated at the feet of Hades and Persephone. So that was basically what Flavia had rewritten the rest of the story would remain the same. Thoughts?
Mechanically speaking, I think the coterie by itself can pull off all the roles. What you just need to do is engage. So you have some prop makers to make the costumes and a few backdrops that you're going to need to set it up.
I also, I just wish to note that depending on the time frames that we have to work with, I actually have a ritual that could go a long way to a Eurydice costume. I literally have a ritual that, as part of its effect, will make people look translucent and muffle the sound of their footsteps.
What would be required for that ritual? Would be stuff that we can get ourselves, or would be stuff that you need to get yourself?
I can do it on. I can do it on any up to 2 people.
What's the name of the ritual?
Donning the Mask of Shadows. I've had it all this time and I've never used it.
Okay, I'm kind of curious, out of character. Would Hades necessarily need to be portrayed by a male?
If you're asking me as a person who kind of directs the cast, I would say not at all. I would definitely be okay with playing with that.
I mean, we have 2 males in the party, yes? One could be the guy, one could be Hades.
Or Abena, you can be Hades. Hades is also the god of shadows.
That's a good point, yes.
You can use your shadows to cover your features.
Could use shadow armor to make myself, to cover myself.
I suppose Labiena would offer to sort of play any other character that's needed in the underworld section.
Luke, you did mention a snake before. What did you mean by having an idea on that?
Oh, just I don't know. I wasn't actually offering it as an idea, but I just, yeah. A thought just occurred to me. I don't know. Don't know if it could be applicable, but this, I suppose, it would. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh,
It
you're
would
fine.
depend on what you want, what you actually wanted to do with the snake, or what the snake was meant to do, if anything.
He's just meant to bite Eurydice in the leg, in the ankle, if you will. And that's what causes her death and ultimate descent into the underworld. So it's more of a symbol, really, but it's also the pivotal point, the driving. He causes her to die, and then Orpheus has to go and retrieve her, try and get her back.
So, Flavia, you have written an excellent play. You've gathered the coterie and explained their roles in it, so you'll be teaching them over the next several nights their parts. So you just have to engage some people to make the costumes and props that you're going to need to pull off the play. Right, so you do not need to hire a troupe of actors since the coterie is going to do it themselves.
Okay, does that also mean that they can remain in costume and don't need additional outfits for the feast? Or how?
The costumes are probably not going to be formal wear. Your normal clothes will be good for most of it, but there's going to be at least one that you're pretty sure you're going to need some formal attire.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that the play outfits were not going to be good enough to spend their time in Pompeii, and I figured they wouldn't be. It just adds to the expense of the whole thing, right?
Right. And last but not least, Lucius, what are you doing?
Well, apparently, I was told that Lucius is going to be trying to steal something from what's his face to be used for scrying.
Okay, so your goal is to get something of Valoranius and get it back to the coterie.
Also, but I mean, Lucius can also play a part in the play. He's got 1 dot in performance.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to start with Albina, and then after we do this, we're going to take a short break. Albina, you head out to Alethea first, or Odysseus?
Go to Alethea first,
Okay.
yes.
Alethea is at the Temple of Diana, where she is normally found, performing her duties and dreaming of the freedom that she used to have. She sits outside on the steps, looking up at the sky, and you approach and see her.
Alvina approaches, lowering her head respectfully to her.
She stands up. She's like, Albina Palace. A lovely night to be out and about.
Indeed. Otto, you look like you had something on your mind. Or have these stars taken your interest this night?
My duties weigh heavily on me. They are burdensome in their ease.
They consume every waking moment of your eternity. I had a similar experience with this when Hatshepsut found herself taken by Torvald. Perhaps to bring in others to form a coterie, others to assist you in taking that burden off your shoulders could ease your nights.
She just kind of shrugs. She says, only one who could be a permanent replacement could relieve me of this burden. I fear if I left for even a moment, I would never return.
You are what makes this place great. It could fall without you. Yes.
She gestures at the stag horns and the implements of worship of Diana. She says, nature is not... It's not meant to be caged within sterile stone walls. It's not meant to be worshipped at a pool of clean water surrounded by man-made stone.
It's meant to be felt among the woods, among the unkept trees, amongst uh, among the smell of uh, the smell of the leaves, among the smell of the rotting wood.
Truly. And yet here we are.
You have been speaking. You have been. I have heard of such things when while I spent my time among the followers of the road of the beast. Have you found yourself tempted to find a change of road?
No, nothing of the sort. But this mockery of worship bothers me. To be chained to such a perversion, it chafes at my sense of right and wrong, of purpose.
Do you believe that your mistress, Artemis, suffered the same dilemma?
I believe that she had, in fact, I know she had plans to leave Rome when Carthage was finished. Powerful though she was here, she had grown too accustomed to her role as the Almighty.
The city bored her.
I believe she no longer wished to have the challenge of defending her territory here.
You might still be able to carry out the same plans to leave the city. Have you thought about desiring someone to take up your position?
I have never met anyone suitable.
Yes. May I proceed to ask of you a favor?
You may.
There has been this matter of a recent party that Helena has been preparing to throw. We have we have earned ourselves a position among her list of guests. We intend to bring her something appropriate in the forms of entertainment to amuse her and to show how grateful we are for her consideration. We are hoping to earn your sponsorship in such matter, if not in monetary manner, then in the manner of your guidance and assistance.
I have always been more comfortable among the straightforward tooth and claws of the gangrel than I have been among the razored tongues of the Toreador.
She Abner laughs softly at this. I remember your sire was quite close to the Toreador, a personal friend of Arikel herself, if I remember correctly from the rumors.
Indeed, she was, and yet she had need of someone to travel the wilderness, trustworthy, someone to carry her word from city to city, in much the manner as she used you and your coterie when first you came to Rome. I was her sword, her eyes, her ears, sometimes her knife in the back. But no, I was not her party favor. However, I can call in a few favors that I have from over the years. I know a number of wilderness livers who might be willing to contribute their own art in their own way, if that would be helpful. I have some small amount of money the temple can contribute to you.
As exotic animals would be a great contribution.
Well, there's a animal trainer that I know of, a young lady. Her name is Octaviana Kano. She's been gaining some fame, and she comes here to worship at the temple about once a month. If you wish to seek her out, and she tells you where she normally goes. However, it's quite possible that she is under patronage or protection, under the thumb of the gangrel Septimus Valens.
What would you be able to tell me about this gangrel?
You've met him many times. He's Septimus is the mouthpiece of the gangrel elder Blade. That's Blaidd, by the way. Septimus Blade is... It's difficult for him to come forth in Roman society. Blade has no such troubles. He's a intelligent, articulate gangrel, very protective of the younglings of his clan. He can usually be found near the cattle market, the horseflesh farm. What do they call it? You would think I should know this by now. Anyways, the major slaughter area where the large animals are brought in. And she goes back and she hands a small amount of gold to you. The Temple of Diana is not it's not hugely successful. It does have some worshippers and stuff, so she's able to hand you 5 gold pieces.
She takes it, very holding on it very reverently. Although not being much money, she acts as if it was a much greater wealth that she was being handed.
Short of leaving my post and going with you, it's most I can do.
It is more than enough. Although, I must say, the idea of you leaving your post and going with us is something that does brings me some pleasant memories of the time that we did spend traveling the Mediterranean.
It was a pleasant time. I remember it fondly.
To what size of boon do I owe you for this?
Oh, something small. We'll work it out in the future, but it's advice and a small amount of money. I'm sure the manner in which you utilize it will be far more effective than any boon in which I would attempt to recall from you.
Albina nods, once again lowering herself respectfully. Thank you for your time, Aletheia. And do not be a stranger. Feel free to visit us if you so desire.
I will.
And with that, she proceeds to step away.
Next up is Tadesius, then?
Yes.
All right. You make your way over to his estate, as he is quite wealthy. You are ushered inside as they do. His household recognizes you. He comes up to you. He gestures his men Titus and Lucius away. His the bald pate of his head contrasting with the white skullet around his temples and the sides of his head. He is dressed somewhat formally. You do remember the stiffness in him. It's been a while since you called on him, but he always had that stiffness about him. He says, "Oh, my friend, open a palace. Come to visit. Please, come in. Come in. Let me guide you. Make yourself comfortable here on the seat. Can I get you anything? Water to wash your face, perhaps? A refreshing draught of... No, what am I saying? Of course, I did not offer you wine. That would be rude."
Something to wash my face and feet would be of great assistance, yes. Be
He
greatly acceptable, please.
makes a gesture to one of his slave servants who runs off to fetch it and brings warm water and a bowl and a couple of clean rags to you. So, now that you have made yourself comfortable and presentable, what brings you forth on this evening?
Well, first of all, to be able to visit you, that is, see how have you been going ever since you took the position of Scourge.
Yes, well, I have spent a great deal of time working with your own sire, in fact, gathering advice and tips. And my men have learned how to gather information covertly. In fact, I'm expecting a visit from them later on, nearer to the morning, with information as to the latest batch of killings and bodies found.
You seem to have taken well to it, if I may say so, even better than my sire did. By this time, I could see the exhaustion on her face. You, on the other hand, seems to be just as lively as well.
Well, yes, unfortunately, you're... Not to speak poorly of your sire, she's chafed under the bonds of her position. To, it irked... The killing was not the sticking point. It was the fact that it was forced upon her.
We, La Sombra, are not meant to such positions.
I disagree. Your sire was cunning, powerful. She made quite a name for herself. Her reputation, even now on the streets, is still of the shadow of death. The shadow that kills. They tell tales of her, you know.
Which kind of tales have you been hearing?
They use her abilities, her peculiar way with the abyss. They tell tales of the living shadow that would creep under your door before dawn, slip through the narrowest of cracks, and would come bearing the screams of your latest victims, would suck you down into the darkness and torture you, only to spit out your bones.
Nobina laughs. Yes, that does sounds like a. You have quite a name to live up for yourself, it seems. Quite a few stories that you must live up to.
He just shakes his head and kind of waves his hand. Oh, fame is not the point, friend. It is power is the point. But you
And
did not
I,
come all the way out here to listen to me speak of killing and utilizing the position of scourge as a selling point to uh, broker death, to be the broker of life and death among neonates.
yes. Now let's get to the meat of the deal. Meat of the reason to be here. Let's make sure that you are aware of the upcoming party with Helena that we have found ourselves invited to. We have found ourselves running low on funds required to secure uh, all the necessary entertainment to ensure us a special position on any of our future endeavors. We are hoping we could come to you and call upon you to sponsor us.
I see. Well, fortunately, uh, my position doesn't require me to spend a lot of money to gain information, so I have funds to spare. How much do you require?
We currently still need to hire a animal tamer and artists and musicians.
I had heard through the rumors of to be found at the bathhouse that you had already hired a musician.
Oh yes, yes. The not the musician, the actors. Yes,
Uh, Actually, you guys were not going to hire actors. You're going to do the acting yourself.
yes, yes.
You just need enough to pay them for the props, which is a lot less than buying their service.
So we just need enough to buy um, to arrange the services of an animal tamer, artists, the prompts, and I believe we also need the what the clothing. Yes, higher quality clothing.
Well, I can help you in a couple of things here. For clothing, I will send you to my friends. They can hook you up with a special price and special outfits in a speedy manner. And he summons a servant and he writes down a short letter of introduction to a specific tailor and tells you how to get there. As for funds, he thinks for a moment and his men come out. He has a bag of 10 gold and the an equivalent, a much heftier bag of silver. He's given you the equivalent of 30 pieces of gold.
She takes it.
So
Uh,
he basically says, no, I'll have the silver delivered to your haven. Take these 10 gold pieces with you, and the silver will make its way to the. You're still at the cult haven, yes, I believe.
that is correct. Yes.
It will make its way to you by the end of the night.
Thank you, Decius. What do you owe for your assistance in this matter?
I believe we'll work that out when the time comes due for payments. But money and the introduction of a tailor, perhaps something in kind, an introduction to one of your friends, perhaps, and what can be bought with 30 pieces of gold?
That can be arranged, yes. I believe this concludes our business here.
He guides you gently to the door. Does a little kind of taps your back, the hand on the small of your back a little bit to guide you, and then lets his hand come off, so he doesn't actually like have to touch you the whole time. It walks you to the gate, and then you are out the gate and out onto the streets. And he says, "Please do not be a stranger, and if I do need anything, I will stop by."
Of course, the door will always be open to you.
And the door shuts, and you are on your way. And at that point, I think it's time for a short break. Let's come back in 10 minutes and pick it back up. Okay, welcome back from break. We're going to step right back into it with the crew heading over to hopefully steal something from Valoranius. You guys definitely know his normal, what would be considered to be his public haven. Like, when people have to call on him, they usually would go to this. It's a Ludi. It's just outside the city walls, the thickly populated residential areas, but it's very very close by. It's heavily guarded to make sure nobody's trying to poach his trainee gladiators. It's a very short walk once you get outside of the closest big neighborhood. There is a small population of tents and things around it, but it's not like in the middle of a huge population center. If he's usually found either there or you find him at the bathhouse. It's one of the two places. So, what are you guys doing? What's your plan?
Well, which would be easier to check first? The bathhouse, I imagine. Aren't those public?
So, the Princeps Camilla sponsors a bathhouse for vampires, for the Canites of Rome, where you can get together and discuss things without fear of the mortals overhearing you. Of course, there's nothing stopping you from using the other bathhouses, but he does sponsor one specifically for Canites. So, where you guys start? It's up to you. Am I coming through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking letting Lucius go inside, Lucius and Flavia go inside. See if they find him. Somebody come back outside, tell us, and then me and Labiana will move into as close enough as we can get without being detected. Because I do not want to make Valeroni suspicious of anything. But hold on.
Yeah.
If Lucius is gonna steal and Flavia is gonna distract, what? Why am I and Labiana here?
Well,
It just dawned on me that Lucius is gonna steal right now.
or maybe Lucius doesn't have to steal. I mean, as I suppose Labiena's homunculi could be used as a backup. Like,
Okay. Then we
I mean,
will
that
be
was
back up
originally
there.
why I was there, or why Labiena was there.
And I'm here to provide protection for Labiana.
To be fair, I originally suggested just Lucius alone. Like, so
I would believe it is in a starter's character to not let the younglings go alone. He's still hesitant about this whole ordeal.
hmm.
So plan A, Lucius and Flavia will try to get it. Plan B, Labiana will try to get her homunculi to get it. That's the plan.
Sounds good to me. Let's see how the younger kindred do first.
All right. Yes. So Flavia and Lucius. Um, you guys tell me, are you they headed to the bathhouse or are they headed to the compound? You guys just need to tell me which one.
I say bathhouse since that was, I think, the original idea that Lucius had.
Okay. The bathhouse is called the Elysian Fields. It is known that there is a secret entrance in both the men's section and the women's section. It's seen as a kind of a rite of passage for newcomers if you don't have somebody to show you where it's at to figure it out. But you have both been here before, just being introduced around and whatever. Flavia, in fact, you saw the turning point of your life was in this bathhouse because there's a little gymnasium there, which is where you met Alexander. So the building itself is quite large, and it does have a couple of very nice bathhouses in it. Let's see, bathhouse. All right. Lucius, you make your way into the men's area. Flavia through the females area. And into the vampire specific area, which is over here where I am pinging. It's lightly populated tonight. You are making your way in. Somebody roll for Flavia and Lucius for your first roll of the game. You get to roll a perception plus investigation roll.
And what is Flavia's role?
Perception plus investigation.
Would she be using Auspex?
Doubtful. Too much activity in here. It might overwhelm the senses. Your difficulty is 6.
Okay, I have no idea how to roll.
All right, that's all right. We'll gonna go through this here very shortly. All right, I gotta scroll down to your character sheet. Characters, Lucius. All right, so Lucius, we're gonna come on. Character sheet open, open. Go to character sheet. We're going to go to dice. And then I'm going to set up, it says main dice pool. I'm going to add one. And we're going to see, I'm going to just call this looking around. Attribute, perception, ability, investigation. There it is. Do you have investigation? That's a question. I think you do.
Yes, at 1 dot, I believe.
Okay, well, that's all you need. All right, so the difficulty is standard 6 for this, which is right here. And roll. Lucius, you are distracted. It would appear that to you, you see a couple of rather attractive females in the water with the men. And it's still not something you're quite used to. Normally, bathhouses are kind of segregated. And you're still not used to seeing them, and especially used to seeing one, Messalina, the female Lasombra, Astartes. You would know her quite well. And Kona Messalina. However, Flavia is somewhat less distracted. It takes you a little while, about an hour. You walk around, you chit-chat with a couple of people, but he does not seem to be here. You make your way through the private rooms up in the left-hand corner here. Doesn't seem to be in there. In the private areas over here to the right, no, he doesn't seem to be in there. In the gymnasium up here in the upper right-hand corner, there's just a couple of Canaanites watching some ghouls, work through some practice routines. Doesn't seem to be here. So, you leave the bathhouse, I would assume, and head out to the compound,
Sure seems it.
right?
Yep. Maybe regroup with Lucius so we're not traveling on our own.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You never split the party. Not through Rome. Not unless you're like Albina and could just poof to shadow and float away from any trouble. Alright, you guys head out to the head out to the compound. Again, not in a residential area, but I'm trying to get a better scene for you. Set the stage here a little bit. Come on. There we go. That's a little bit better. Head out to the compound. There's a couple of rearing horse statues in front. You can hear men being exercised out back. You hear the voice of a guy faintly drifting. I don't care how high the moon is. You will do push-ups until I get tired. And it just kind of drifts over the breeze. You can hear the grunts of men. He's like just trying to whip out a few more. So you head up to the gates. They are shut, although there are obviously people behind them. What do you do?
I would imagine try to find some reason to be there. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe something to do with the gladiators.
Okay. Looking for some opportunities for some of your old army buddies, perhaps?
Maybe.
All right. So you knock on the gate. Oh, you're not going to try to sneak over the walls or something, are you?
Not at first.
Okay. All right. Well, you pound on the gate, and a little eye hole opens up. After a minute, guard looks out. He appears to be quite alert. What have you at the master's house tonight? What business have you?
I'm interested in opportunities to become gladiators. We're former legionnaires of mine.
Well, the house is flattered that you have come here, but you should come back in the morning and speak to the master, as he will be willing to discuss contracts with you. I'm afraid it's a bit late.
My apologies. The master's not in now.
It's a bit late to receive visitors. Dinner has been eaten, and it is time for gentle repose. Unless, of course, you fancy doing some push ups. And again, in the back, you can hear the trainers yelling.
I've done enough push-ups in my life. I will return later.
You will be welcome. And then, it shuts. Now, I should tell you, it's not like these gates are airtight. There's little. If you wanted to bend down and look under the dirt, you could see little, feet moving underneath, and you know. So it isn't like these are, airtight, sight tight gates, but they're enough to prevent entry.
Well, since walking in isn't an option, we're gonna have to sneak our way in. I would definitely do some reconnaissance. Any bit of information I can get on what's on the other side of these walls would be welcome. So it is not above me to basically get down on my knees and look underneath that door.
All right. We're gonna make a perception plus alertness check, and you are gonna probably be using your auspex here, so it's gonna give you an extra dice. So what you're gonna do is we're gonna open up your character sheet.
Okay.
We're gonna go to the dice tab on your character sheet,
Okay.
and then where it says main dice pools, if you scroll down some,
Okay.
hit the plus add button.
Okay.
All right. And once you've done that, then you will click on the attribute.
You said perception?
Yep.
Okay.
And it's going to be, and then you click the one next to it where it says under ability, and you're going to select alertness.
Alertness. Okay.
All right. Modifiers, I want you to go to 1, make it a 1 instead of a 0.
Okay.
And difficulty is going to be 6, and you're going to hit roll.
Don't need to put anything for
Or
the
sorry, I
name.
take it back. Guys, it lowers your difficulty by 1, right?
Correct.
Okay. It doesn't give you extra dice, it lowers your difficulty. I always forget this. So yeah, it's a modifier 0, but diff 5. So make it difficulty 5 instead of 6.
Okay. Do I need to put a name for this or?
You don't have to.
Okay.
And then hit the roll next to it. Okay, awesome. 2 successes. A 10, a 7, a 5, and the 1 botches 1 away. You kind of get down and you stare for a good long while underneath. There's an open courtyard of some kind that you can see. You see the guard's feet move away. Apparently he's stationed somewhere near the gate. There's a cart or something. You can see some wheels, cart wheels, a couple of them. So there's 1 or 2 carts parked somewhere in the courtyard here, and you can't make out much else beyond in the dark. But there doesn't appear to be an army waiting behind here for you. So that's good news.
Is there any other ways in other than the front door?
Scout the walls and see what you find out.
Ideally, I would want to get someplace that's like a building next door or something higher up that I could see down into the compound.
Yeah. Well, he is, as I stated, he's not in a urban population center. He's just a little bit away from it.
Any tall trees?
Ooh, good question. Uh, Tell me high or low.
Um, I
High. There is a tall tree. There's a couple of them, a short distance away, that have not been cut down for firewood. So you got lucky. I'm
okay.
not going to make you roll to climb the tree.
Okay.
You can climb and you can get a okay view down in the courtyard. It's not perfect, but it's okay. What you see is a wall that goes around, and there's at least 4 separate buildings that are all kind of close to each other, and you can just barely make out the figure of about 10 or 15 people doing exercises in the dark.
Any building that looks to be, I don't know, more.
Residential?
Yeah.
Yes, there is. It's a
Well, I would want.
residence and a gladiator barracks and warehousing and kitchens. Fairly typical. It's pretty typical. Nothing really surprising. There's no watchtowers, no, castle ramparts. They pretty much rely on the walls to keep out the wooden palisade wall to keep out the riffraff.
Okay, then I would try to basically plot the quickest way from the wall to that residential building.
All right. Are you gonna let everybody else know?
Oh, yeah, once I climb down the tree and tell them.
Okay.
Basically, I would climb down the tree, go over to the group and say, this
Yeah.
is what I found, and
You sketch them a quickie rough map in the dirt,
yeah.
the building layouts and stuff. So what do you guys all think?
I looked up. What's the distance between where we are standing and the main residence?
About 20 meters. Yeah, there's a couple of tents and shacks between you and them, though.
I look at Labiana. I don't feel so confident sending somebody in. Can you send your homunculi in and get it for us?
We can certainly arrange to set that up. Now, my question is, how do we want to do this? I could start by sending in Oculus to do the internal scouting. Then, once we've pinpointed something, find a way to get Manicus inside to snatch the item. How does that sound?
Can we not send them both at the same time, or can you not control them both at the same time?
Out of character, I believe I can. I guess I just feel like it'd be better to sort of send in the smaller one, which is less chance of being detected. And en route to locating the item, we can also check for the most concealed way of getting Manicus in, the bigger homunculi.
Okay, that's a solid plan.
Unfortunately, I don't have a great picture of the layout here, so this is kind of, sort of, a background picture, but it's not great. Right, so you want to have your homunculus approach and kind of climb the wall. Is what I'm
Yeah.
understanding. Okay. These things have spidered up things before. They don't have a problem with that, but they need to remain hidden while they get up there. So, make a dexterity and stealth roll for me, please, for them.
Indeed. And here we go.
It's going to be versus the guards' perception and alertness.
Still. Standard diff?
Yep.
Hold on. Before we start, how close to the compound are we?
20 yards slash meters.
I want to. That's when it's 40, and Labiana can operate from 100 meters
100
away.
meters away.
I would feel more at ease if we were further back. So if the guards come running out,
It's a
they will
100
not.
meter radius, right? Or diameter, right?
Yeah, I think it's radius.
I believe it would be safer if we get out of sight.
You are out of sight. They can't see you from here.
So if they come outside of the compound looking to see if anybody's messing around, they will not see us.
Not at first glance, no. It's going to require a concerted search.
Okay then. Okay, I'm at ease then.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if they do happen to come out, then it'll give us enough time to get away.
Oh, yeah, you'll have a big head start.
Alright, now. Do I spend a willpower or not? Suppose with this initial one, I think I just might. Spending a willpower on this one.
All right. And Lucius, as a reminder, spending a willpower grants you an automatic success.
Okay.
So you get one back every night. All right. So with 4 successes, your eyeball on fingers climbs up the wall, gets up to the top, looks around. It sees a 3-building layout. It sees 2 guards near the gate and a couple more that are wandering the inner perimeter. It sees a light in one of the buildings, presumably the kitchen, you would think. And it sees a group of 15, maybe 20 people total that looks like they're doing some sort of exercise.
Okay. How close are they to the residential building?
They're about... The whole compound itself is maybe in a radius about 50 meters. So, or 50 yards. So it's about 100 yards from wall to wall in a straight line. So they've got a pretty good amount of space to work out in. So they're decently far enough away so that they're not going to disturb the people sleeping in the residence. And the residence itself is about 10, maybe 15 yards away from the wall. So there's a very wide strip where there's nothing between the wall, or there's nothing near the wall on the inside.
Okay. So I'm guessing that includes things to hide behind?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm
Question.
thinking it might be prudent to just...
If he scouted the whole wall, he'd probably see some like goods stacked up and things in various spots, especially near the warehouse. But for the most part, they keep the walls clear, and it looks like, now that you're looking closely, they use it as a running track to make people run.
Okay. Well,
You had a
Taking a lot-
question, Lucian.
Never mind.
Okay. All right.
I figure Laviena will probably just leave Oculus in position until at least the majority of the gladiators, I guess I'd call them. Gladiators in training. I don't
Yep.
know. The people
Yeah, you wait
are
a
kind
good
of
hour, and eventually all the activity tapers
focused.
off, and the men are released to go clean up and go to bed.
Okay.
So the moon, it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and everything's quiet. All you have left are the 4 guards get relieved by a new shift. So they've got fresh men, and you got about 4 people patrolling the inside.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Well, I suppose she'd wait till the prime opportunity to send Oculus on a dash towards the residence.
Okay. They're gonna have an opportunity to spot him, but it's gonna be pretty tough. They appear not to notice him as he dashes across the dirt. Where do you send him? And you might have to get a little bit closer to the action, depending on where you're sending him.
Okay. Were we able to determine? I'd say probably not, but the most likely place where Valeronius's room might be.
His room, no, but if he's here, he's in the residential section for of a certainty.
Okay. Do I notice any open windows?
Not in the residential area. In the barn, yes. Barn, kitchen, warehouse, dealio.
Okay. Any cracks small enough to fit in?
Oculus, probably. It's definitely not. This isn't a fortress. It's a house. So, Oculus could easily go into the warehouse, where the kitchens and goods and stuff are stored, because that's basically kept open because of the heat, because of the amount of food they have to prepare. So yeah, he doesn't even need to
I
get in a
guess so.
crack. He just walk in the door there.
Probably a good place to start, I would say. Obviously, approach cautiously and make sure there's no one actually awake.
There's a couple servants that are in that barn area. Looks like they're making food for the gladiators. Pretty much, they're making some bulk. It's not potatoes, but it's like potato-ish, style breads and flat loaves and the kind of stuff you'd feed guys in bulk who are engaged in intense physical training all the time, trying to increase their muscle mass and everything like that. So high
Yeah,
protein
high
and
carb.
carbs.
How close to the door would they be?
They are very busy. They do not appear to have noticed Oculus at all.
Ah. Um. Well, I suppose the next thing to do would be to probably keep along the wall and try and find another opening that would lead into the residence as well,
Okay.
into another
I'm
room.
I'm gonna look at this one up. I'm gonna look up and see how far you can be away from him, because I think you should be nearing the edge of your range here, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Check the book again myself.
Awaken the hominocular servant. Okay, yeah, you have 100 yard. It must remain 100 yard radius.
100 yard, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so it is still within control radius of you. Although it's getting to like it's like 80 yards away from you at the moment.
Okay.
And make a perception plus alertness roll for me. Or no, we're gonna go perception plus legend remain for me.
Okay.
Because you're basically scouting this thing like a burglar, looking for routes of entry, where can you exit, cracks in the wall, can you climb it real easy? Well, you're looking at that kind of stuff. Scouting this thing like a burglar.
Yeah. And particularly also at the same time looking for, like, not just for Oculus, but also for the size of a hand. Alright, so perception plus ledger domain. Standard diff?
Yep, diff 6. And you can use, I believe you can use Auspex through this. So you can make diff 5 if you need to.
Okay.
And if not, I'm going to let you do it anyways because I think this is cool. And if you can use it, this is a chance where you would. I
Well, I
love
think
this
I will.
power. This power is so cool. It's disgusting, but it's cool.
Oh, I was gonna say which one is it? Wait.
The Hominocular
Which one?
Servant.
Oh right, yeah. Okay. Look, I've been meaning to start using them more often again.
Yeah, you found a way. There's a spot where a wall needs to repair. Like it's peeled away a little bit, and the hand kind of squeezes in.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, his fortunes with the trouble he's been in, he hasn't had time to make sure everything is, in as good a shape as it could be or should be. So,
Possibly some information we could potentially use down the track. So Labian will make a mental note of that. So I suppose what remains to be seen is what the next room. Obviously, she's going to systematically keep going until she can identify Valerius's room, or at least keep going until she can identify something of value. It doesn't necessarily have to be in his personal room.
he's got several things of value. He's got in here. There's a number of trophies. There is awards for gladiators, awards for horse races. There's several flags. There are a number of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff from Carthage here. You recognize many symbols, things that were taken during the war and used as personal mementos. You don't recognize any. There's no jewelry. There's nothing like that screams out Valerianus wears me on a normal basis. But
Okay. Anything relatively small that would not be immediately noticed?
not that Oculus can carry out with him. Nothing of that
Okay.
size. You do notice there are another couple of servants up and about, doing laundry and like cleaning and things. So I'm going to make another roll to see if they notice Oculus, and you're going to want to do a dex stealth roll for him. I just looked up his stats. He only gets 3 dice for this. So,
Oh, right, yeah.
because he does have when you're doing alertness and stuff, because you're looking through him and directing him. But as far as hiding goes, he only gets his stats for that.
And he gets hit, yeah. So yeah, that's on 312. keep forgetting to look at those stats.
Well, the good news is, unless you botch, you're okay.
Alright, Dex, stealth. Roll 3 dice. No, standard diff, yeah?
Yep, standard diff. Oh yeah, Oculus hides under a piece of furniture. Just quickly gets out of the way. You see a servant walk by carrying a bunch of clothing. Looks like they're packing something. Looks like they're packing up. And you catch
Yeah.
sight, there's a door that has candlelight coming from it. The door itself is shut, though. You can see the crack, though. It's got a bunch of candlelight.
Okay. I suppose you would reasonably assume that could be Valoronius.
Most likely, yes. Him or his secretary.
That too. Excuse me. Well, I'm wondering if it's now a good time to send Manicus in. Because I figure she better not spend too much more time on this and try and take what she can get
Yeah.
without raising too much alarm. Or
Yeah,
try not to raise an alarm at all.
you've seen a number of things that are valuable, but nothing suitable for your purposes.
No, okay. Well, I suppose the next thing to do then would be to try and sneak under the door, maybe
So yeah, just
peek under the door.
you roll them up to the door and do a perception alertness roll for me, as you are kind of peeking in to see what he can see. And this is, of course, with your stats, not its stats, as you're looking through its sensory range.
Its stats, yeah.
Yeah, your stats for perception.
Oh, my stats, right. Perception alertness. And once again using all specs.
Sure, absolutely. Um, there are 2 pairs of feet in the room. That's what you can see. Probably Valoranius and his secretary.
Can I see which way the feet are facing?
They're facing each other.
Okay. Now, are one set of feet, like, if I look at one set of feet, can I see if they're pointing towards the door, away from the door, or
Parallel.
parallel?
Yeah.
Okay. What else do I notice besides feet? Do I notice like legs of chairs
the
or?
way the candlelight flickers, it's pretty tough to tell. Possibly a table. They might be one. They might be both like looking at each other from across a table of some kind or something. There's voices, but you can't make out what they're saying.
If I go any further, there's a risk I could be seen.
It is an inner room. There's probably not a window or anything like that in there. The only way in or out is this door.
It's that door. Because it'd be handy to. Because I mean, the only other thing to do would be to just go in a little further, try and make an immediate mental note to see if there's any large objects that Oculus could hide behind or under.
Yeah, there's furniture. Like I said, there's like flags and stuff. If it climbed a wall, it could get up behind a flag. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff that it could in this house that it could get behind and hide.
Okay. Well, I could see Oculus just systematically doing that until it identifies something that might contain some of the more personal effects, as it were.
I mean, everything here belongs to Valoranius. This is obviously his trophy house where he brings people to impress them. But there's not like a hanging pendant or a ring or something that it can grab onto and take.
Okay.
I mean, there's plenty of stuff here that is like could qualify as a possession, but not anything small like what you're looking for.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
So, what's the next question?
Asada's asked about
same
if the
sort.
secretary.
You cannot get into their personal rooms. Their personal rooms are shut up pretty well.
Is Labiana explaining what she's seeing to us?
Labiana, you tell me.
Yeah, well, I presume I would be.
Then I tell her, just leave it. I have another way to find the information we need. If you can,
Very well.
let's withdraw from here for the night.
Right, well, I suppose Labiana proceeds to pull Oculus out. Carefully, of course.
Yeah, no problem. All right, you guys retreat with your with the homunoculi and retreat back to the Cult Haven.
I approach Albina, take her to the side, only we can talk. I'm gonna tell her, I'm gonna need the favor I asked of you if I will be able to stay here. So I'm gonna do something to find the information we need, but it might backfire on me with, let's just say, a temporary weakness that I might not be able to go back to my haven.
What do you mean?
I prefer you do not know, but it's not gonna be something that's gonna affect you. It's just something that's gonna affect me. So do you have somewhere private where I can go?
I can show you through one of our rooms.
Okay. So I go in that room, and I'm gonna use forbidden knowledge.
All right. So yeah, you are in Nicodemus's old room, their old coterie member. All right. I always got to look this up. It's not something I'm super familiar with. Roll wits plus occult. And what's the question you're asking?
Um, what is the exact route the Valeroni is gonna take on the road from Rome to Pompeii?
All right, that's gonna be difficulty 5. Yeah, there's a lot of successes. He's taken the main road, the Appian Way. He's taken that down, and then he's going to take the main road in. I'm not sure what you'd call it, down to Pompeii.
So I
So,
write it. I write it down
yeah,
on a paper.
well traveled, well made. Uh, lots of travelers.
Now comes the hard part.
Yep. Now I got to look up the rest of it. Do. This is number 3, right? I think this is your third time.
Yeah, I believe
All
so.
right. So roll your willpower minus 2 dice. Difficulty of 6. Yeah, and obviously it didn't. The answer didn't come to you like, he's taking the main road. It was like a bird's eye view of an eagle flying and dipping over the road south, and you see landmarks, and you see cities in the distance, and then it turns off, and so on and so forth until you reach the city of Pompeii. So that's how the answer comes to you in the form of that vision. But you recognize all the landmarks and stuff as being the main road. All right. All right. You acquire a derangement. I'm going to roll for you for how long this thing lasts. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Roll 1d8 for me. A 2. All right, you acquire the derangement of cholera. And I'm going to look that one up so I can tell you exactly what it does. Experience, degeneration. Here we go. Derangements. Cholerics are restless, aggressive, and impulsive. They become angered, even violent when their ambitions are thwarted. When gripped by this derangement, your difficulties to resist frenzy are increased by 2, but any act of physical violence is at a -1 difficulty for you.
So I became a bruja.
Yeah, basically. But you are like restless and aggressive. It's not just temper. It is like it's clawing at you. Like this isn't just something you can just put away. Yeah. So, you return from your short vision quest, and what's the Astartes looking like, sounding like, as he delivers his information?
You see him actually for the first time furious. He's almost he's talking loud but not screaming, but he's furious. The way he's describing the road, it's like that motherfucker or that badge is going on this road, this building. This is the main road that's gonna take. He's extremely angry. He's pacing around. His hands are flailing all around. And then he looks, Albina, I'm gonna take you up to the offer. I cannot leave this place. Because I feel I'm gonna murder him when I see him.
Well, the idea is to murder him when we see him. but I do appreciate the eagerness.
Now, what are we gonna do to find the other stuff we need for this party? Come on, we're wasting time over here.
Dasius and Laetia had provided me with about 45 gold. They should. Dasius said that they would be delivering his part in silver to the Gold Haven.
And even as you speak, there's a knock at the door, and several heavy bags of silver are delivered.
Yes. Laetia gave me the recommendation of a animal tamer that we could approach, although the tamer in question might be a property of one of the gangrel. May have to deal with him in order to get to her. As for Dasius, he gave me the recommendation of someone that might be able to help us with clothing, ensure that we are looking the best that we can.
So we're done preparing for this party.
All right.
Just need
In the interest of time, Flavia, I would like you to make a roll of charisma plus commerce to argue about getting a fair price for your goods and to get your stuff made. And then I will have one person only need to make the same roll, charisma commerce, to get a fair price for your clothing. Well, I'm going to take the first roll that popped up because Albina rolled it for you, Flavia. And that's the first one I
Oops.
saw.
Okay. I forgot she was rolling for me. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Thankfully, the other one's only a fail anyway.
All right. Well, they're going to have to re-roll at diff 8 because they're going to deliver on the commission. All right. They need 2 more successes. There you go. With 2 days to go before you guys leave, you're getting kind of antsy. They roll up. The costumes aren't amazing. Like they won't. They're definitely not suitable for wear out and about town. They're stage costumes. They deliver them along with a kind of paper mache looking snake, little fake snake, and the few little props you guys asked for. And who's gonna roll for clothing? That was 8 gold marked off for props. No, not 8. We're got 5 gold marked off for props. So somebody roll for clothing for me.
Labiana has no commerce, so in
Yeah.
Me neither.
fact, one of my next XP expenditures was actually going to be commerce.
I guess Alvin is the one that's early for the commerce for the clothing. I'm going to use a willpower on this. Yes.
Okay. Yep. Sounds good. This isn't
And
resisted. This is literally just arguing for a fair price.
Charisma. Yes.
So, well, each success you get lowers how much money you got to spend. So, all right.
So 3 successes with the
Yep.
willpower.
So normally he would have said because of the rush, he'd put a premium on it. Formal set of clothing. Each person is 1 full gold piece, but I'm doing you a favor, and so on and so forth. So I'll settle for 3 gold.
All right.
And you're using Decius's Tailor, right?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He delivers a magnificent set of clothing fit for each of you in 4 nights.
Awesome.
Think about what you want each of your formal wears to look like. You guys can describe that, and he delivered it. And last but not least, the animal trainer. The woman is a young lady, about 17, 18. She's performs in many of the public squares during the day. She sleeps near the slaughterhouse district. And why I cannot remember off the top of my head what it's called at night. Roman large animal forum. Ancient Rome large animal. Why can't I spell? Anyways, it was a. You head out there. She's sleeping with her back against a great big fucking bear. So who's approaching her? And because, yeah, I'm not gonna say why. Who's approaching her? The Forum Borarium. God, that's why I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah, who's approaching the animal trainer?
Assuming that Albina and Flavia both busy the respective roles, would that leave the others on, or
Yep,
could either of them
that's
also?
probably gonna have to be one of the others. Yeah, Albina's busy. So Flavia, Lucius, Astardus, Labiana, Hatshepsut.
Flavia can do it.
Ah,
No problem.
all right. So Flavia, you approach the forum. The smell of beef blood, the large animal slaughters and stuff are strong in your nostrils. You can smell the animal waste and the animals themselves. You can hear them in their cattle pens and such. And she is relaxing, resting against the big bear, who's sort of half asleep. And there's a couple of big dogs with her as well. And you noticed there ain't many people who are willing to mess with her. So all the would-be rapists and thieves and all those people, don't mess with her. Having a 500-pound barrel will do that for you.
And Flavia is clear to approach, yes?
Yep. And does Flavia have the merit that makes animals not want to kill her?
I don't believe so. I think she's
Yeah.
only got animal kin.
Yeah, so Lucius, vampires, unfortunately, most animals react very negatively to the vast majority of vampires. They don't like them, they recognize them as superior predators engaging on their turf. It's called Hatshepsut's got it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, you don't have that. So anyways, they you walk up, and as you close in, you notice two things. You notice your rival is also on the way over. One of the other actors that you've have a rivalry with, and both the dogs kind of perk up and they start growling. And the bear, at the sound, looks up to you, and you see the giant claws come out and dig at the dirt just a little bit. She just pops her eyes open, and she's leaning back against them. She's sitting in the dirt, and she's got her hands behind her head, and she just kind of looks up at you with a curious expression on her face as you approach.
Well, seeing that bear dig the
And of course,
claws into the dirt, she'd probably stop right there.
yeah, and you have your own dog with you who takes up a protective stance in front of you. Your own hound gets in front of you, doing that growly thing. And your rival comes up as well. His own golden hair, preciously styled, the makeup on his face, that cocky grin that you just want to slap off of him every time you see him comes up. Hey, Flavia, come to talk to Octaviano, I see. Oh, you don't mind if I go first, do you?
Well, actually, yes, I do. I believe
Yeah, he's going to ignore
ladies
you unless you
first.
stop him.
He tries to. I don't know if physically kind of stepping in front of him would be something that's within her means to do so. I don't know how far away
Yeah, you
they
are.
are.
You
Are they
can.
like next to each other?
You just do the no. You just do the like shoulder. I'm like, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Like,
With all due grace, of
of
course.
course, Octaviano finds this highly amusing. She starts laughing as you kind of bump him out of the way, and he's like, "Oh, fucking bitch." And she doesn't get up. She just kind of like, "Well, why don't you come closer so I don't have to raise my voice? It's a little noisy."
And Flavia nods with a slight bow, and she says, I will. Just please keep your bear friend calm while I approach, mistress.
She does this like whistly clicky noise, and they're on guard, but they're not like aggressively attacking at the moment.
And so then Flavia would bid her dog to stay, and she would approach Octaviana by herself. She doesn't want to bait the bear with the dog's presence being so near, obviously. And then she would bow again and introduce herself, her full name, and asking for a moment of her time to arrange some business, hopefully profitable for both sides.
Oh well, I'm Octaviano Cano. You obviously have met my friends here. I am performer extraordinaire, open for hiring. I would invite you to sit and have a seat, but business has been a little slow lately. She kind of rummages through a little pack or something and pulls out a hunk of moldy cheese and some old bread. She's like, "Well, this is what I have to offer."
Um, Flavia would thank for the offering, but explained that she had already dined, and if possible, they could get right down to business if Octaviano was up for that.
She just nods and she goes back to her pack, pulls out three chunks of beef, one considerably larger than the others, and tosses them to her animals. They snap them out of the air and start eating them. And the bear itself crunches through the bone. Just you can hear it crunch the bone and start eating.
That would be an amazing sight to see, and for I think a brief moment she'd have a flash of the memories where her sire was being torn apart by bears. But it would not affect her countenance. She'd still smile and look as composed as she can possibly be. And Basically, get right down to it.
Albina, make me a perception plus awareness roll for Flavia.
Mhm.
And Lucius, this is a awareness being your this is your supernatural perception, like how aware of you of supernatural things going on around you.
Would she be having her auspex activated?
Probably not. Too noisy. All right. Flavia, you've got there's a prickling in the back of your neck, that feeling of being watched as you talk to Octaviana. You feel like somebody's watching you.
I would assume that this wouldn't be a pair of eyes that is friendly. She wouldn't be able to get that kind of feeling, would she?
No, you just feel like somebody's watching you.
Okay, so neutral.
Probably her vampire handler.
Okay.
You are, after all, right in that kind of gray area where the gangrel are often seen. Like, you're right there. So she's like, well, what's the gig? What can we do?
Well, mistress, we were hoping that we could engage either your own services or services of someone of your ilk ability.
Ha! There is no someone of my ilk or ability.
I stand corrected. Forgive me for having misspoken. I am not yet well versed in everything around the city and everyone who is important or in some way special in what they do. You could say that I am a little bit new to everything around here. But I can tell that you are definitely a woman of stature and great talent. I was hoping that we could come to an arrangement. You see, a group of friends and I are looking to hire an expert animal handler and a pack of expertly trained animals that could be made to perform at a feast of special magnificence. And your name has been passed around, and so I am here to find out if you would be amenable to perhaps offering your services for a price we can both agree upon.
You hear your rival behind you going, "Come on, get on with it. Shut the fuck up." Just like needling you. And Octaviana, she listens and she's like, "Well, I'm definitely open for being hired. And where is it? And how long is it going to be? And we'll start there."
The place is going to be Pompeii, and as for how long, I would imagine it's going to be a couple to several days' time.
Okay.
We would arrange for your animals to stay as they need to be kept with all the amenities that they require.
Well, I'll be
And
walking them down there, so no need to worry about that. Just make sure I have a place where I can hole up with them and they'll be safe.
of course,
So, how much?
how much do you feel your services are worth?
How much do I feel? 50 gold.
Well, I offer 15.
Her eyes flick. She kind of shakes her head. She's like, I can't accept that. I got to feed everybody on the way down. I have to feed them on the way back up. I have to feed them while they're there. Bears eat a lot. I need to feed myself, shelter myself. I will need fresh clothing. And of course, there's all the, while I'm down there, I'm not performing up here.
Of course, mistress, which is why I initially offered that we would be providing the food and the shelter and anything you need on the way there and back and during your stay by yourselves. So you would not have to worry about anything.
Okay.
All your needs would be taken care of.
Well, then I'll lower it down to 40.
And yet, I can only offer 25.
All right. Somebody make a charisma plus commerce roll for Katharina. And she's going to make her own opposed.
Would you like to,
Yes, go ahead for me, Albina, please.
would you like to use a willpower or something on this, Flavia?
Yes, please. Willpower is great.
Any discipline?
Not sure what would be appropriate in this case. for
Presence.
bargaining. Presence, that's what I thought. Okay. Let's go with presence as well.
Just for the ease of time, just add her presence rating to the roll.
Mhm.
Right. You successfully argued to 25 gold.
Flavia is very pleased and
hand-
hopes that the
handshakes.
coterie will be too.
Handshakes and down payments are exchanged. Agreements are and terms are reached. As Flavia gives a smirk of superiority to her rival and sends him away cringing. And you begin to walk away. Your dog doesn't even react, and there is the tiniest prick of gangrel claws in the back of Katharina's neck. And you feel a powerful hand cupping the back of your neck. And you look over, sort of like you do the head twist to look behind you, and there is a man standing there. I'm calling up his picture, so just give me a moment. Short hair. It's cut low and short on the sides, but he's got a little shock at the top. It's a little bit longer. It's grayish black. He's got slightly pointed ears and a little scruff of beard. It's a little heavier on the chin. He's got a pair of red earrings in. Some sort of emerald, sapphire, ruby maybe, or maybe just a fake piece of polished red glass of some kind. And he's wearing heavy leathers, cape of some kind lined with feathers. And he just kind of walks you gently off to the side and looks at you and he says, "Do you know who I am?"
And she just shakes her head slightly and says, "No, sir."
"My name is Septimus. I watch out for my clanmates here, and for young potentials like the lady. She does a lot of good here, a lot of things. I will hold you personally responsible if anything happens to her. Am I clear?"
Yes, sir. Very clear.
"No canine is to attempt to claim her. Not for a servant, not for a moment of pleasure."
I will make that abundantly clear to all of the coterie.
He smiles, and he lets you go.
Well, she could breathe. Big sigh of relief. And she calls the dog to her. Well, hopefully at this time he'll just come willing.
Yep,
And they
he
will
didn't
depart.
react to Septimus at all. Was just like, "Oh, hey, buddy. All right." And he goes back into guard mode and walks off with you.
we make our way back to our friends.
All right. You bring the good news back, let them know everything that's gone on, and it would appear that the last thing you guys have to arrange is an artist, if you're going to bring one down with you. Which you don't have to, but yeah, but you are once again out of funds. Yeah, it's 25 gold plus expenses. Yeah, the props and stuff were what I think I said 8, and then just the right amount for the clothes. So yeah, you're out of money for an artist.
What type of an artist are we looking like? A performer, a musician?
Like an actual visual artist.
Okay, so it could be somebody like a dancer or something more.
I believe something like a painter, a sculptor.
Painter or a sculptor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like maybe an ice sculptor? I don't know if they do that kind of thing at this point.
No,
Yet.
no, they don't.
Okay.
You might just have to settle for not having one, unfortunately. Or this could be part of your, I don't know. You have to figure something out, but
Say, we might not be able to afford to pay for a painter or sculptor, but perhaps, at least not with money, but perhaps we can pay with services.
maybe.
Yes, I think this is something you should explore. Yes, try to locate a sculpture and try to offer other forms of payment instead of money in order to secure his services.
Well, you guys know that you're definitely not going to be able to afford the two best artists, Quintia Penta and Harriet Cicello. You're not going to be able to do it. Perhaps there's another artist that some of you guys are aware of, a Furia Natalis. It's another young one. You guys have been hanging out amongst the theater crowd, and even in your research with Valerianus enough to have heard the name before.
And we can spin this as being bringing potential, as showing Helena a gem in the rough, something that is still going to be shining, instead of the others that have brought something that is already at the apex and only decay awaits.
Hmm. What if we were to scout among some of the most talented upcoming young artisans still in training that don't necessarily need to be paid so much as they would welcome the exposure and being known sooner rather than later?
You know what artists say about exposure? People die of exposure.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought
That
it was
was
going to be
Flavia
the
thinking out loud, sorry.
Yeah. No, there is exactly one promise that you can make that would get them to go for low amounts of money, and that's the promise of getting a patron.
Networking and contacts.
Yeah, just exposure, not enough. But if you talk to them about the tremendous amounts of money going down there, the high-level artists, all the rich people, and your promise to help them get a patron. Not just, hey, I'll get you exposure, but I will promise to help you get a patron. And of course, success on the negotiation roll. And
With the
that would be good.
And likely the higher level artists have already either been taken or already in the process of being taken by some of the other guests.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to get the high level
Yes.
artists.
So better go straight for something more on the mid level, something that shows promise, but is not there yet, so to speak.
Could be something said for wowing someone like Helena with just raw, untapped talent instead of the tried, tested, and true that has been around for decades.
That was my thought.
Yes. Pursue her, no, the
I like
novice.
that idea.
And if push comes to shove, I think that Flavia could try to introduce that particular upcoming hopeful to her own patron, who is huge into sponsoring new talent. After all, he sponsored Flavia, so there's a lot to say for that. She's not that awesome, but he would definitely be. I see him as someone being willing to give that person the benefit of the doubt. Maybe a little silver lining in the whole thing, because I'm not sure how many artists, patrons she would actually know herself in Pompeii or have contact with.
Yeah, very few, and you probably wouldn't know anybody in Pompeii.
Yeah.
All right, so somebody roll for me. Wits plus crafts plus contacts. As you're trying to quickly think of a name that you know that you've heard.
Would anyone like to roll, or should I do it?
I do not have contacts.
Me neither, nor crafts.
I got crafts, but no contacts.
Contacts would be what background, right?
Yes, it's a background.
I
Yep.
do not have that.
Flavia has contacts. That's all I see.
Chris, can a ghoul roll it?
Yes, yes, you can.
Sheer has both crafts and contacts.
All right, have him roll it. Use his dice pool. Lucius, this is why retainers are fantastic to have. Those high level retainers that you put on your character sheet. You get them for a purpose.
Yeah, I got one dot in retainer, but I haven't filled out a retainer
Yeah.
sheet yet.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that. It's not required, but in a situation like this, it can be really nice.
It can be handy, yeah. I think in Labiana's case, she's going to wait a while before she tries again, considering the circumstances that went down last time.
Standard diff.
Yep. All right. He throws out a couple of names, but the one that there's one that you and Flavia have both heard of. It's a guy named Argus Senga. The Senga is probably a foreign last name. Argus is definitely Roman. So, probably a Gallic family of some kind, descent. Perhaps a Hispania. He's an up and coming guy, pretty young, but has been putting himself out there trying to get commissions for graffiti and murals and things like that. So, he's definitely got that young guy attitude. All right. So who's approaching him, and what's the argument going to be? Anybody?
And who would like to approach her?
Yeah, who wants to approach him? It's a him.
Oh yeah. If no one wants to do it, I can do it.
All right, so as part of this, you definitely know the vicinity where he's at. So whoever it is going to roll up there. There's a half-painted mural on the wall. You've only got. This is the last day. After this, you guys, whether you get him or not, you got to go for Pompeii. You got to depart. So you head out to get him. There's a partially finished mural on the wall. He's in a tavern, one of those wine bars, drinking himself silly.
He looks to be pretty wasted at this point.
He's not super drunk, but he's definitely not sober.
So I've now the other for another round ready to him
All right.
as she approaches.
He to your health, and he drinks the next one. Him and a couple of his artist friends are there as you shoulder your way into the table.
Are we celebrating something? Are you celebrating something?
Life, we're alive. The night is wonderful. Young men, and I'm employed. Yeah, cheers. Drink.
How delightful reasons to celebrate. Who had the who has landed? Who was the lucky guy that got you recruited?
I am. I do my own legwork, but I got us the commission. We're putting up a mural of the. Oh, come on, give me the name. Come back. Putting up the mural of the great gladius, Faustius. Faustius Tarsican, the greatest gladiator in Rome. That's a lie, by the way. he is not the greatest gladiator in Rome, but got to talk the man up.
I don't know. Is he unusually large and portly?
No, he's just past his prime. He used to be, not anymore.
I was just going for like alternate definitions of great, as in great size.
Oh yeah.
The first sumo wrestler in Rome.
Indeed.
Well, so glad to see that you have landed such a prestigious employment. I can see that I came to the right person. It is good that I got here before you were snagged. Um, before you were snagged by the emperor himself, by one of the senators themselves. For that is clearly where you are heading.
That's the goal. Find some nice, fat family. Get a super nice commission to keep painting their portraits over the years. Get every child, grandchild, aunt, uncle, cousin, adoptee, horse, and everything in between.
I could introduce you to some.
He's just at that point of being drunk where he's not careful. So he's right at that edge where he's not drunk enough to be easily manipulatable, but he's too drunk to care about being careful. He's like, I've done pretty good for myself so far. But I'm always open for opportunity. So what's the opportunity?
Pompeii,
Pompeii.
one of the gatherings of the elite, not just of Rome, but of the empire, of the out of the republic as a whole. More money flowing around in one night than what flows through the city during the entire month. And the eyes are all going to be on the entertainment that is displayed. Entertainment that could include your work.
All right. Roll manipulation plus commerce. Or manipulation. Yeah, manipulation commerce. Because you're actually telling the truth here. So you're bargaining with them.
Fuck.
Reroll at one difficulty higher. Diff 7.
Can I use a willpower?
Yep. Yes, you can. This is pretty important. You renew your argument and you make a second attempt.
Yeah, doing so.
Yep. All right. So 2 successes then. All right. He's a pretty charismatic, charming dude. So, boom. And he looks at you and he's like, "All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal. Me and my friends are going down there on your denarii. You pay for a hotel and everything, and our food, all that. I'll do one painting for you, one mural of some kind while we're there, and everything else is for me trying to get some attention. How about that?"
Yes, but I do expect that it's going to be. Remember that we are the ones that brought you there. I expect our name to be associated with the work that you put out.
Well, of course.
Yes?
Otherwise, how am I going to attract one of those rich fools to pay me to paint their kids the rest of their lives?
Good. I believe we have arrangement.
He takes a cheers and everybody drinks. You gracefully extricate yourself from the situation and head on out. You got a very brash artist. You didn't get the best, but you got a very brash, eager one to prove himself.
Let us hope that his eagerness can compensate what he lacks in experience.
All right. That pretty much does it for today. Next session, going to be in 2 weeks. It'll be the first weekend of June. Yeah, it'll be June 4th. Everybody gets an experience point for tonight. And next session, we are heading for Rome. Or not Rome, Pompeii. So, if you spent willpower tonight, you get 1 willpower point back next session. All right. Anybody got anything else for me?
Nope. I mean, I'll probably just be spending my XP before I log off.
Oh, yeah, excellent.
I believe that's all for me.
All right.
Good to be back as well. Also,
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back, man. It's been too long.
yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye. Good night.
Goodbye.
Gotcha.
All right.
Hey, Chris, how much is a ritual?
All right. In a second, I'm going to stop the recording here, and we'll just keep on talking. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.